Regardless of your thoughts on the Goran Dragic trade, Thaddeus Young clearly makes this team better by simply being available to play in NBA games. So in today's video, we're going to go through what sort of impact the player can have on the Raptors. Let's get into it. Welcome NBA and Raptors fans to Amateur Hour Sports, your source for dedicated Raptors content at least 4 times a week. Currently on vacation, still in Milan in Italy, but this is the last video you will see with me on vacation. Actually, by the time you see this video, I'm going to be back in Canada, but I have to record this one the day before because I'm going to be traveling all day tomorrow or today for you, the viewer. But make sure if you enjoy the content, you subscribe to the channel. I work really hard to put out this Raptors content, even on vacations. Would really appreciate it if you went that extra little bit and subscribe for all of that great Raptors content coming your way. But today's video, we are talking about Thaddeus Young again, because it's exciting to have a new player coming into the Toronto Raptors. The last couple of videos I've made have basically been saying I'm not really a particular fan of the trade, but I acknowledge that Thaddeus Young is a player that is going to help out this Toronto Raptors team. One of the biggest problems with the team is the fact that we do not have a very reliable bench to go to, and we just lost that winning streak. We 1 point lost to the Denver Nuggets. What a shame that was to have lost by that small margin, but the Raptors in their last 9 games have won 8 of those games. The starters are on fire recently, but it would be nice to have that extra little bit of backup in Thaddeus Young. And besides, here's a highlight tape of every good thing Goran Dragic did for the Raptors. And that's exactly why the Raptors made this trade. They wanted to bring in somebody like Thaddeus Young who could help out this team. So what does Thaddeus Young actually bring to the Toronto Raptors? Well, he fits the exact physical type that Bobby Webster and Masai Ujiri adore with this team. He's about 6'8", 6'9", power forward with a lot of versatility on defense, can play as a small ball 5. And on offense, he can also do lots of different things for this team. He's a very versatile player positionally, much like Chris Boucher, much like Precious Achiuwa, much like maybe Khem Birch, who's also considered a power forward. We're going to essentially be having 4 power forwards coming off the bench if everybody is healthy in those 3 plus Thaddeus Young. So it's a bit of an interesting dynamic, but Bobby Webster said earlier on, in fact, before the season, why not have every guy in the court look like that? Because the Raptors are really going with this positionless game. And right now it is really starting to click, but adding in the talent of Thaddeus Young on the bench can help them get even better. So what sort of talent does Thaddeus Young possess? If you look at his statistics from this season, it's not very illuminating to the player that you're actually going to get, only averaging about 6 points per game, but doing so quite efficiently. The reality of the situation with the Spurs is that Thaddeus Young just wasn't really a fit there. The Spurs are not really in a position to go make the playoffs. They'd rather go with some younger players on the court, get better for the future. Thaddeus Young is a veteran player who maybe doesn't really fit that with the San Antonio Spurs. But the season before with the Chicago Bulls, Thaddeus Young just showed exactly what he can do, helping out some of those younger players on the Bulls. He was putting up 12 points per game. Again, very efficient. He typically shoots above 55% from the field. In a good year, can shoot well above 30% from 3. He's a career 33% 3-point shooter, so does offer you a little bit of an outside threat. He's a good rebounder, especially for power forward. That means he can play as a center for the Raptors, and actually does chip in with a few assists here and there. Thaddeus Young is just a very versatile option for the Toronto Raptors to use. And honestly, with the bench, the way it's been going, we've been running such a thin bench that just having a more reliable player on your team who can actually do some sort of role off the bench, just to take a few minutes from Pascal Siakam. I know Siakam's been playing like he should be on an all-NBA team, definitely should have been on an all-star team, but we'll talk about that in a future video. Regardless, just giving a few of these guys an extra few minutes per game on the bench, an extra few minutes per game where they can rest, might do some wonders. The Raptors starters average the most amount of minutes in the entire NBA, so I'm worried at some point that's going to catch up to them. Maybe the small Fred VanVleet injury is as a result of him having the highest minutes per game in the entire NBA. So just having an extra body on the bench that you can rely on consistently to provide you the role that you expect them to could do some great things for this team. And Thaddeus Young, as a veteran player, is getting up there in age. You know, he's on a pretty bad contract, $14.5 million. That's saving money compared to what Goran Dragic was making, but it expires at the end of the season. That veteran presence Thaddeus Young has can also help out a lot of the players on this team. Minus Goran Dragic, minus Thaddeus Young, the Raptors' oldest player was 29 years old. So nobody in their 30s other than Dragic and now Thaddeus Young. It might be nice to have a bit of a veteran player to also help in with some of the younger players. Scottie Barnes has been playing a lot in those forward positions. I think it'd be great for him to learn stuff from Thaddeus Young. I think it's arguable that Scottie Barnes right now is just as good, if not better, than Thaddeus Young ever was. I mean, Thaddeus Young used to be a pretty good player, but I think the argument is there. Nonetheless, some of the veteran tactics that Thaddeus Young has can definitely help out younger players like Scottie Barnes. I mean, it is just nice to have a player, a veteran player like this, who actually wants to be on your team. I'm assuming Thaddeus Young is going to give it his all for this organization. And I'm assuming the Raptors are going to find a role for him from day one. He must be frustrated, having really not had any sort of chance to prove his capabilities with the San Antonio Spurs. So I'm imagining he's going to be licking his chops at this opportunity with the Raptors. Not to mention that this is a contract year, again, for an aging player. I don't think Thaddeus Young has any real thoughts about retiring at this given point. So if Thaddeus Young wants to remain in the NBA, he's going to have to prove that he is continuing to be relevant for an NBA organization. Not just prove that he's relevant enough to make money next season. Who's going to give him that contract? How much is he going to be worth in that contract? Maybe he wants to stay in Toronto. Maybe he wants to earn himself a decent contract with the Raptors. Very unlikely, but certainly some teams around the league could feel like Thaddeus Young can offer them some services. So it's going to be on him. The onus is on him to earn that contract at the end of the season. And based on the rumors regarding a potential buyout for Thaddeus Young, there were some teams interested in the player. So I'm imagining in the season that is going to be the same, but the dollar amount of his contract next season is completely up to him and what he displays on the court. The Raptors knew they needed bench help. They didn't really want to compete in the buyout market, it seems, for Thaddeus Young. So they decided to bypass that completely by trading away Goran Dragic and that first round pick in order to acquire Thaddeus Young at the deadline. And, you know, we're a few days in, still not really a fan of that trade, but for the rest of this season, the Toronto Raptors are really making a push to get themselves in a good playoff position. And Thaddeus Young from day one is going to help make this team better. Having a player who's actually playing and not sitting in Miami, attending Miami Heat games is going to be better for this team. I don't imagine there was any sort of mental side of this that kind of affected the Toronto Raptors. I really don't think they had any thought about Goran Dragic. And to be honest, for myself, I didn't really think about him watching the game. You know, maybe I thought it'd be nice to have that extra little bit of guard depth, but it wasn't a distraction for me watching the game. It certainly wasn't a distraction for the players, because I mean, in the midst of all of these rumors going on right before the deadline, they went on that huge 8-game winning streak. So I really don't think it affected the players in any way, but having that extra little body for your team, I think is going to help out the Raptors. And I am very excited to see what they can accomplish for the rest of the season. The fact that the Raptors actually traded away a first-round pick, which was very shocking to me, makes it seem like Masai, Ujiri, and Bobby Webster feel like this team is ready to compete. This team is ready to challenge and do their absolute best to get into a good playoff position and maybe make a shocking run in the playoffs. We weren't really expecting the Raptors to be this good. I don't think even Raptors fans were expecting that, but clearly, Masai and Bobby are feeling extremely confident to make a trade like this. Regardless of whether you like the trade or not, Thaddeus Young has just made the Raptors, who are one of the hottest teams in the NBA, even better. So, not considering what the trade was, how do you feel like Thaddeus Young is going to fit with the Raptors? Do you think he's going to have a big role off the bench? Do you think he's not really going to have much of a role off the bench? Do you think the Raptors are really going for it based on who they traded away and what they traded away to get the player? Let me hear your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, because that is it for me for today. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you made it to the end of the video, then that 100% absolutely deserves a like, so make sure you like this video, help us reach some new viewers. And if it's your first time and you did enjoy, make sure to subscribe to Amateur Sports for more videos like this, all concerning the Raptors in the future. Again, this is my last video on vacation, back into my normal setup for the video in a couple of days. Hoping to see you guys there. Thank you so much for the support over this vacation period. It was very, very difficult to continue to produce this content for you guys, but I love making Raptors videos, and the great support we've had over the last couple of weeks makes it 100% worth it. I'll see you again next time for another video.